Brilliant one, really. I suppose the big thing is can Tip back to back. They'd love to do it. Got a little hiccup in the league final. Henry's Kilkenny. Is Brian Cody able to do kind of nearly mission impossible, resurrect a new team? Will Galway eventually put their stamp on the Liam McCarthy Cup? And then you have the kind of sleeping giants. The two I kind of see sleeping in the long grass. Limerick are kind of young team coming, Dublin coming, but the two that are sleeping in the long grass are Waterford and Clare. Clare saw them the other night against Galway, were very impressive. I know it's only a challenge game, had everyone back on song. And Waterford, I think Derry McGrath has put all his eggs into this one basket, and he's put everything to this championship. So it promises to be a great one, and even today it promises to be a good one as well.
Coming back to the All-Ireland champions Tipperary, the funny thing about it is, you know, they're such a prominent county in hurling, and yet putting back-to-back All-Irelands is something that is very rare for them.
Yeah, when I suppose when you look at how long they're there, this team is really there since 2008, since Liam Sheedy came in. Shamie Canlin, I think, has 6 Munster Championship medals and 2 All-Irelands. So they're on the road a long time. And they have come very near to winning All-Irelands now. I mean, they were stopped by a super team, you know. They were lucky in the earlier part. They were up against
2009.
Against Kilkenny. Well, you see, 2009, 10 along there. You know, they were up against great teams. Now they have the chance. You know, they're at their most mature now. They're most experienced. This is their greatest chance, I think, to put back-to-back together. And they were outrageous favourites to do so until, of course, the Galway ambush here in the league final a couple of weeks ago. So that has thrown the whole championship wide open. But Cyril is right, you know, but Waterford and Clare, I hope they're not sleeping, that they're vigilant in the long grass rather than sleeping in it. But the big pressure's on them this year, you know, 3 years of underachievement for both, right? Well, for Clare anyway, 2 maybe for Waterford. Very bad displays in the Munster final. But above all, we've a Henry coming here now. This is his 3rd year coming here. We haven't yet seen a good game, not to talk of a great Munster final or anything. So this year, I am very confident that at long last, it'll be 3rd time lucky for Henry.
And the other thing, apart from all of that, Henry, is we were so used, obviously, for years to seeing your team and winning things and almost kind of shoot in from early days in it. Where are Kilkenny at right now as we enter summer 2017?
Well, as a Kilkenny man, I think we're in a brilliant position because the lads have spoken for nearly 5 minutes, haven't mentioned Kilkenny. We were on the radio a few weeks ago and there was no talk about Kilkenny. And I think it absolutely suits Kilkenny right.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying to you. Like, you know, we were so used to talking about Kilkenny. Could anybody stop them and so on?
And people wanted to talk about different teams, and rightly so. But I was at the club's games over the weekend. We're seeing a highlight of Michael Fennelly, who's back. He played a full 60 minutes last night. We obviously have Ger Elwood back again in All-Star 2 years ago. So they're nicely coming. The only thing is that the spine of the team is where the question marks probably are. Pádraig Welch was put in there full back to try and resolve that problem since JJ was gone. But Pádraig has got injured. He was doing a very good job. And centre back, we're not quite sure of either. Jason Clear is a new player that people wouldn't be aware of, has come in there. Year to 4 before, he would have come in, slotted in wing back, got a year or two's experience. But we just can't afford that now. But I think it's suiting him perfectly. Brian is probably at home. Lads are starting to come back from injuries. There's not much talk about him, and everyone else can talk away themselves.
But Henry, the reason for that is Kilkenny is a given every year, and has been for the last 50 years, for as long as I can remember. It's a given that Kilkenny will be one of the teams that will be favourites for the All-Ireland. I suppose we've had a decade now, really, of Tip Kilkenny dominance. I know we had the 1 year, you know, the kind of fluke year that was there with Kilkenny and Tip being out of it. But we are all desperate for a new team to come forward, you know, really. And that's the reason why it's not out of disrespect to Kilkenny. It's just the desire that is there to see a new team coming forward and winning the All-Ireland.
Michael, there's one big point as well, and Henry kind of half touched on it there. Kilkenny being Kilkenny, when they start off the year for the championship under Brian Cody, if they have 15 new lads, they believe starting off that they're going to win. The Clares and the Galways and the other teams are hoping they'll win. Now, there's a terrible difference. And until they get into their heads that they're capable of winning and say, we can win, that's what makes it Kilkenny very hard. Not only are they good, but they have this self-belief in themselves, and that makes it very hard. It makes it very hard to beat.
All right, thanks to that, lads. Well, now to actually set the scene for this year's.
You're going to win inside in training at and Ryan and saying outside, well, we might win. You have to be positive in yourself, and that's. I think if they get that into them, they have a great chance of winning the All-Ireland. I'd love to see them win it.
But I think, Michael, that's the mentality for the year ahead, because Gerard's right. The last couple of years coming down here, we haven't seen good games, because last year Cork came down here and set up with a sweeper, and that was kind of sweeping through. And I know the football panelists will talk about the same things. We want to see teams express themselves. Hurling is a very expressive game. Just go for it. I think we are going to see more of that this year, and I think we are going to see a very good championship, because I think teams now realise if they don't push on and go for it, they're going nowhere.
You lads were talking earlier on about the obvious contenders, like Kilkenny will surely be there, Tip, of course, because of the champions and so forth. But then the others, like the Clares,
Yeah.
the Waterfords,
Yeah.
Wexford, of course, this year. You know,
Yes,
they're on a bit
exactly.
of a roll, if you like.
And this year, you know, they are genuine contenders. We having spent 2 or 3 years preparing or building up their team. You remember at the end of the Kilkenny game last year in the semi-final, we all said, right, Waterford now have a real team. The question is, will they bring that a step forward this year and win, you know? Now, I think they will if they get over their Tipperary phobia. Now, you could say Clare in the last 3 years have totally underperformed. They haven't beaten anybody of any consequences since they won the All-Ireland. So really they have to justify winning that All-Ireland, because there is a big thing about honour in hurling and all that. You know, you won it, but did you prove that you were a champion team afterwards? So they have to do that. But going back to Waterford, you know, I think of all the teams, they have 15 terrific hurlers, you know, and they can play great, and they have a lovely style of play if, as Henry says, they are more positive. And you have the hope of beating Tipperary. I hope to have that lesson learned from last year, that the way they play, there's a lot of crowding, and Tip are so skillful. Kilkenny are so skillful. Tip are so skillful. Crowding suits them. You have to stretch them, like Galway did to Tip in the league final. So they have to come up with a totally different way of playing, a way of playing with greater freedom, so that the like of Austin Gleeson, the Bennetts, Patrick Curran, that we'll see them and see what they can do. If they do, and Clare have the same type of forward.
Yes, yeah.
And if they play like that, we'll have a brilliant championship, and I think we'll have new champions.
Another key game in all of this, gentlemen, is the match between Kilkenny and Wexford, because if Wexford were to come through that, as they're threatening to do, then that kind of changes an awful lot of things.
Yeah, well, they first of all,
I'm
get
just
over
wondering, sir, how are things down in Wexford at the
Yeah,
moment?
well,
by
the
way?
thing is, they were away, I think, in Portugal for a few days in the sun. But
They didn't bring you?
Wexford, no.
It's
Wexford,
half a Wexford man as well.
Wexford have to be half careful of, you know, of the first game. It's like the Offaly game, like, you know, get over that. It'll be a savage match. That's what it'll be. The intensity will be savage in it. It'll be physical. Kilkenny probably have Michael Finlay back, Gerald Aylward back. They'll be strong. But Wexford will try to say, listen, we beat them the last time we met them, you know, in the league. We're going to beat them again. It'll be gung-ho down there, and they'll be go for broke, both teams. I expect first of all, it'll be packed. There'll be no tickets available. It'll be an all-ticket game. The second thing is it'll be, you know, it's going to be a very, very physical game, and whoever gets is going to be in a Leinster final, and you're hurling for the whole summer.
I just want to mention, before we wrap on this for the moment, gentlemen, we haven't actually mentioned Dublin, and they deserve a mention, Henry, for obvious reasons. They are the All-Ireland club champions in Dublin.
Yeah, but I suppose we're talking about more what's going on off the field, to be honest. You know, I definitely think the Coola contingents are very strong this year in the club. But unfortunately, 2 or 3 of those players we're not going to see in the Dublin colours this year. So, like, again, they've a young developing team. There's been massive money and development and time and effort put into the underage structures there. But we haven't seen it come to the senior level. And, you know, we'd love to see Wexford back. We'd love to see Offaly coming back. But I think most of hurling requires is Dublin to have a strong team in the championship. So, you know, there's not much talk about them. They don't fear Galway and Tullamore next weekend. So you just don't know. It could be the season of shocks. We just don't know yet.
We'll see that match, by the way, in a week's time down in Tullamore. All right, then, my thanks to Cyril, Ger, and to Henry for the moment. Now, after the break, we turn our attention.
It's very hard to know. Tip haven't been playing as good as they have been in the last league game. You know, they played very poor in the league final. So it's very hard to know how they're going to approach today's game. But I'm sure it'll be a very close game today. Both sides love hurlers here. Cork love coming here to hurlers to play, and I'm sure it'll be a very tight game.
John, what do you think of these Cork young guns? How are they going to stand up to the All-Ireland champions?
Well, I think today will be a big test for them. They played very well in the league, in the games up along, but I just see on today's programme they're all on the one side of the field today, so I think if they'll play well, if the rest of the team will play well, these lads will play well. But if we're depending on these 5 to win it for us, I think that's a bit too much to ask. So there's a big onus on our older players, on our more senior players, to help these young lads to bed in today and to get the feel of the game.
Pat, what is the thinking in Tip? Was that league final defeat a one-off?
Well, we hope it's a one-off, really, because if it isn't, we'll be in real trouble here today. I think they trained very hard on the Friday night previous to the match, the league final, and hopefully that they all look to be very flat and tired on the day. So hopefully that was a lot of the reason for them playing so bad. If they play like that today, they have no chance.
John, I suppose there's no great pressure on Cork to win today, maybe not much expectation, but a performance will be needed.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that. We've lost 2 first round of the Munster Championships the last 2 years, and if we lose today, that's the first time in history that we'd lose 3 first round Munster Championship games. So I think there's a lot of pressure on the team. This is their second year of the management team in today, so they're under a bit of pressure. They put a lot of work in over the last couple of months. I think we learned a harsh lesson here last year, and certainly we'll be looking for an improvement on that. Babs was on during the week about how lucky we were in 1966, but we'd take a 66 performance here today.
I'm sure you would. Tip have had a bit of disruption. Seamus Callan, is he 100% today, do you think?
Well, I know he have a broken thumb, and he's probably going to get an anaesthetic to try and relieve the pain. Hopefully he'll be fine. A lot depends on Shamey, how he's going to play. We need the ball into him fast, you know what I mean? He's a fabulous player, and hopefully he'll be okay.
Very briefly, you going for Tip?
Well, I'm going for Tip by 5 points.
John?
Reluctantly, very reluctantly, I think my Tip might just slip it, I think, yeah.
Okay, well, 2 for Tip from down here. Michael, let's now go up to Ger Canning in our commentary box.
Clare, as you know, champions usually like to start the defence of their title with the winning team from the All-Ireland still very much intact. And Tip go very close this afternoon, starting with the goalkeeper Darren Gleeson, who made a brief championship debut against Cork 8 years ago. Among those fronting him today are Cathal Barrett, who had a difficult league final, and the recalled John O'Keefe, today replacing the injured Mickey Cahill. A more assertive performance is now expected by the tip-half backline, where the Marr brothers, Ronan and Porrick, have played such leading roles in recent times. Tip will be starting with their All-Ireland midfield pairing intact, Brendan Marr and Michael Breen. At half forward, there's another chance for Mullinahone's Sean Curran, who played against Cork this time last year and now replaces Patrick Bonnermar, one of Tipperary's subs. And the inside line, as ever, has massive scoring potential, led by the man you've been talking about there, Seamus Callanan, who's happily recovered from a broken thumb, which forced him to miss the league final. As with Tip, Cork go with an experienced goalkeeper in Anthony Nash, his 25th championship match. The first of 6 changes from last year sees Stephen MacDonald return as captain, with debutant Colm Spillane in the other corner. The Cork half backline features Christopher Joyce and Mark Ellis, along with newcomer Mark Coleman from Blarney, who's just 19 years of age. Named at centre field today is Bill Cooper, with Dara Fitzgibbon from Charleville, who's another one of the newcomers this afternoon. On paper, the half-forwards look impressive, with the number 12 Shane Kingston, son of manager Kieran, starting his first championship match after 2 cameo appearances last summer. And in the full-forward line, Alan Cadigan and Patrick Horgan could cause considerable trouble for that Tip defence, with newcomer Luke Meade asked perhaps to play a much deeper role. Well, those are the teams this afternoon. Time now to hear from the respective managers. Kieran Kingston here of Cork and Michael Ryan of champions Tipperary.
Michael, your championship about to begin, but how have the last few weeks been? How have you and the players digested that league final defeat?
Well, look, we had to put it behind us, Claire. You know, it was live for that 73 or 4 minutes, and you know, for us, we obviously regret that kind of performance totally. But we look ahead straight away. It's the only thing to do in life and in sport. So that's exactly what we set about doing, and we've had a very good 4 weeks.
I suppose it burst your bubble a bit. So, what kind of reaction are you expecting from the players today?
Well, look, I think the players will be 100% today. You know, and this is championship. This is what we've been. You know, the minute this fixture was made last November, this was the only thing that was on our minds. And you know, we're just looking forward to a really good game here today. This is Tip and Cork in Thurles. This will be a classic, I'd expect.
Kieran, you've gone with youth. So, how will they stand up to the All-Ireland champions?
Only time will tell, Claire, as you well know. We picked. We haven't gone with you. We've gone with what we feel are the form players at the moment, and whether they're young or old, that's the way we've gone. And only time will tell how they'll go today.
What are you expecting from them today?
I mean, what we focus on all year, and we said all year, it's not a cliche. We're a developing team. We're a team in trying to make progress, and we're sticking to our own process and our own performance. And today we're asking for a performance for 70 minutes. That's really our key objective, is to get a really, really good performance from our team that we never give up.
How have Cork progressed from the disappointments of last year's championship?
I suppose the record speaks for itself. I mean, at the start of the year, we would have taken where we finished in the league, albeit not the quarter final, but we were most people's favourites for relegation. So I suppose from the league we made some progress. It's a very, very difficult league. I said this many times. In one sense, you're trying to retain your status in Division 1A, and the other side, you're trying to blood new players and change things around a little bit. And we achieved that balance fairly well, and we were happy where we finished second in the league. Yeah, certainly we would have taken that at the start.
The views of the managers there, of course, Henry Shufflin. There are plenty of Cork flags and jerseys in Semple Stadium today. They have come to support their team, of course. They've come on hope. Is it a realistic hope, do you think?
Well, I would hope so. And I tell you, just Tony Fenton was talking there, and Tony was asked by Claire, about should they come in hope. But his answer straight away was no, they should come to believe that they're going to win. And I think that's what's been lacking in the Cork players in the last number of years. We've spoke about leaders. We've a lot of youth on their team today, but it comes down to the leaders. And you haven't seen that desire, that passion, that I don't care, we expect to win out of the Cork players the last few years. I think there's massive work being done underage. This is a big game for them. Last year was a very bad performance, and the season just petered out after. So I think they need to take some momentum. I think Kieran Kingston is doing a good job, but I think the leaders really need to step up and help the younger players. And I think if they do that, they have a chance. Now, the only problem is for Cork is that Tip had a very bad day out the last day, so you would expect them to bounce back very strongly today, especially at home here in Thurles.
We saw the two lads, as Henry said there in the chat with Claire, and we remember those days, Ger, of course, 30 years ago, John Fenton and Pat Fox involved in all of that. And what everybody, of course, would love to see is something like that again this year.
No, sure, that's what we're all looking for. Contests like that, especially, at the end of the 80s, early 90s, the contests they had were absolutely superb altogether. And, Bab has added so much to that as well, and of course, Canon O'Brien on the other side. So you had the whole package that time, and you had these draws and, epic finishes to games. That's what we want to see in Munster Championship. Now, I suppose if we're looking for the flaw in Tipperary, everybody points to the league final and the comparison with what happened to Kilkenny against Galway in 2012. Now, the problem there was, after 30 minutes of that game, Galway was 16 points ahead of you, but you didn't throw yourselves down.
Yeah.
With 8 minutes to go, there was only 8 points in it. There was only 6 points in the league final at half-time. They had plenty of time to regroup and come out again, but they totally collapsed. Now, when you add that to their 8-point lead in their only big game against Kilkenny after 20 minutes in the league, and they struggled to draw the game afterwards. So maybe there is a flaw there. Maybe the hunger has been sated, we don't know.
Yeah.
Now, I saw them coming out onto the field there, and not alone were the players come out, but the selectors came out. They were nearly jumping into the air as well. But the one display that Cork gave in the league this year was below in Waterford, against Waterford, where they were aggressive, they looked physically powerful, they used all the attributes they had as well as their skill, and they only gave away 113. So maybe if we're looking for crumbs of comfort, that gives us something, that they might produce something like that today.
But sure, I suppose, like Michael Ryan, the Tip manager, is a very intelligent man, sir. He knows exactly where he wants this team to be at the end of May in 2017.
Well, he made no bones about after winning the All-Ireland. Straight away, he wanted to win another one, putting his head on the block. He wanted to win the league as well. He made no bones about that. OK, they took the defeat well. But I think the interesting thing today is, OK, it'll be interesting how Tip come back after that defeat. They had 4 weeks. If you notice there in his clip, he said they had a very good 4 weeks, which means they ironed out the problems. Maybe it was that Wexford game was very physical. Maybe it took a lot out of the bodies of retirement. To me, the interesting today, the left side of Cork, you have 5 new players. Spillane cornerback, Coleman wing back, Fitzgibbon centre field, Kingston wing forward, and Mead corner forward. Now, that's a completely new line. Now, I expect Mead to be swinging out around. No, these lads from colleges, very good hurlers, young, energetic, and probably, as Henry often said, no baggage on their back. They've heard about the Tip Cork rivalry, but they hadn't had it in the last few years. So they'll come in with no baggage. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. If they can go at Tip early on, put a bit of doubt in their mind, that's the big thing, to take it to Tip early on. But if they let Tip get into a kind of a role and throw around this, they're very good on the ball, good laying it off. If that happens, you'd imagine Tip push on. But I'm expecting a big fight from Cork. But at the end of the day, you'd think that Tip at home would have enough to get through.
And not only enough to get through, Henry, they have the firepower up front. There's no question about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year they were very impressive, their forwards, but in the league final they did showcase some deficiencies, and it was the work rate out of them. The Galway defenders were walking out of the ball, and I know, look, it's a simple free here, and that's basically being lazy. I don't really want to work, so I'll foul them. And I said, here ball goes in again, and Tip are very skillful, but when they don't win it, and Galway were just acres of space working it, and there was no pressure whatsoever. They were kind of going through the motions, and that was the